Well, it's a wonderful bright Sunday morning and I've come up to one of my favourite walking spots, which is very close to my house in fact, just up the road. And it's a time of the year, the third week of March, when everything's coming back to life, and I've come here to look at the flowers that are here and also to show you Green's Windmill, which is a local landmark in Nottingham. But we'll just walk through this way and see what we've got growing here. One of the earliest plants to flower, of course, is red dead nettle along with lesser celandine. And I love red dead nettle. It's a beautiful flower. It has medicinal properties, and it's always a real source of an unusual dark purple and pink colour early in the year. And we've got lesser celandines as well too. And also hiding here, we've got the flowers of white dead nettle. Very distinctive and standing out there. So we'll continue to walk along and see what we can come across. There's some stones here covered with a biocrust of mosses, and the moss here looks like one which is quite common called Trichostomum, and it seems to be the only moss that's growing here among the sort of pebbles that have been embedded in concrete. Quite an interesting sight. And this is absolutely incredible and wonderful. These are wood anemones, wild wood anemones, which I've never seen growing on this site before. They could have been planted, of course, and that's quite likely because there are several patches here. But I'll try and show you the flowers close up. That's definitely wood anemone, Anemone nemorosa, with its very distinctive sort of greyish green leaves. You can see the achenes there with the yellow stamens, but see if I can get in a bit close to it. That's an incredible shot of wood anemone, which I wasn't expecting to find at this site at all. It is an indicator of ancient woodland, which this definitely isn't, which leads me to suspect that these plants have been put here deliberately. I hope they stay. It would be great if they did. Of course, the main flower you're likely to find at this time of year is very distinctive. The yellow flowers, lesser celandine, a close relative of the wood anemone. Sorry, I'm a bit out of breath. I've only just walked up the hill. It shows how unfit I am, which is a bit sad. But this is one of the commonest spring flowers found everywhere, and it's had various name changes. I think it's recent. The most common name is Ficaria verna, where it used to be Ranunculus Ficaria. So you can find it under several names in the books. And these are the plants I've really come to find, of course. This is one of my favourite wildflowers, and it's the early dog violet. When I came up this morning, I knew I'd find this. So it's in full bloom, and it's very different from the common dog violet, which flowers a few weeks later. Now, the early dog violet has several differences from the common dog violet. The petals are a different shape, the flowers are a different shape, and the spur on the flower is purple rather than white. And you can see the purple spur on the flower on that flower there, and you can see it there too. So those are the key indicators. Early dog violet or wood dog violet has straight and unbranched lines on the lower petal, whereas the common dog violet has shorter stripes that are branched on the lower petal. And as I said, it flowers a couple of weeks later. And there you can see the purple spurs on the flowers. Very distinctive. And just a few meters away from where I just showed you the violets, we've got Green's Windmill and Science Centre, and it's Nottingham's unique working windmill. And at the moment, the windmill itself is being modified. It's having its maintenance for the year. So unfortunately, from here we can't see the sails on the windmill. I'll see if I can get them later on when we walk down the hill. Yeah, I definitely came at the wrong time of year. The windmill has completely been dismantled and it looks more like an observatory. But I'm sure everything will be put back together for the spring, and there are lots of school trips to this site, and they're very popular with the kids. They do making flour and making bread sessions as well, with the flour that is ground in the windmill here. Looking down from the windmill, you can see there's a children's play area, and there's also a sandstone wall which is quite old, and let's have a look at see what's growing on here. We've got a white dead nettle growing in the cracks, lots and lots of wallrue plants growing here. They're small ferns that are becoming increasingly common around cities, and I think this one is a hart's tongue fern here. Lots of those too. Here's a particularly large one. But the most abundant one here seems to be wallrue, Asplenium ruta-muraria. And yeah, it's incredibly common along here. Ladybird there. I've seen a lot of ladybirds out recently. This one looks like a 7-spot, eating aphids on the wallrue. Yeah, and plenty of buddleias growing on the wall here as well. Now it's really interesting, at the other end of the wall, the wallrues or the ruta-murarias disappear and the Asplenium ferns appear instead. Asplenium trichomanes, I believe these are. And walking up, we can see all the ferns here are trichomanes ferns. Yeah, the ruta-muraria ferns have disappeared. Now that's an interesting ecological observation. And of course we've got a plant of hairy bittercress here as well, with small white flowers and long seed pods. But the Asplenium trichomanes have completely taken over from the ruta-murarias. That's really interesting. Now why could that be? Maybe it's a different type of stone on the wall, but I really have no idea. Anyway, thanks for watching this. If you've watched all the way through, thank you for watching. And there's some very interesting plants here. I was particularly pleased to see the wood anemones at the beginning of the walk and the early dog violets, which really are the features of this particular Greens Windmill Park. And please like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.